We're always in the hunt for more horsepower around here, whether it's a power adder install like later on or a complete engine build. But first up, we get to lend a hand to one of you. In fact, we got this letter from a guy named Jason Hughes who asked us to help kickstart his dad's old 55 Chevy. So John Bouchard and our crew volunteered for the road trip down to Troutman, North Carolina for a little driveway rescue. On the way, John got on the phone with our partners at Summit Racing and went down his list with one of their 24-hour tech experts.
Okay, cool, got that. Hoses, clamps, and a 180-degree thermostat.
Summit Racing's massive inventory features over 1,000 brands, tens of thousands of parts in stock. And most importantly for us,
you guys are good to us, I appreciate it.
John got the order in by 7 p.m. for guaranteed delivery overnight.
Hey Jason, how you doing, man?
Okay, how you doing?
All right, so we're gonna come out here and work on this 55 a little bit, huh?
Yes, sir.
Are we up on tetanus shots?
Oh, maybe.
All right, okay, we should be okay.
It's just got a small block 350 in it.
That's all right. So Built America. Done some wiring already, that's cool, that'll help us out. So it's not seized up or nothing that we can do?
No, it's not seized, but I think it will. It ran last time we had it.
When's the last time you heard it run?
Probably 99, 2000.
We're gonna get it running today. We're gonna make that happen today.
The men will make it happen with a bench full of parts delivered early this morning, along with a couple of racing pros. Just down the road at Mooresville is KB Racing, home to Summit Racing driver and NHRA Pro Stock World Champion Jason Line. He and crew member Pat are going to help get this old Chevy drag car running again. And they'll do it by addressing 3 main areas: electrical, cooling, and lubrication. First up, spark.
Putting your finger in the spark plug hole is a good way to tell that the engine still has compression. You know, after it's been sitting all these years, who knows?
Well, I think we can keep going, don't you?
I think we have all 8. We got compression.
Perfect.
We're gonna go ahead and get the #1 cylinder on top dead center, get the old distributor out. Now this is what they call a ready to run distributor, so we don't have to wire up a box for it. It's actually underneath the distributor cap. So we've got a positive and a negative that's gonna go to the Blaster SS coil, a negative that goes straight to the battery, and a 12-volt switch that goes with the 12-volt on the coil.
Our MSD coil and distributors installed. We need to make plug wires and a coil wire for it, and change oil and put the radiator in. To do something different and help out somebody like Jason, it's a fun deal for us. It's a different kind of a day off for us. So it's fun, it's a break, a change from the normal pace, and we're gonna help somebody out.
Well, we've all had our time doing stuff like this growing up. This is how you learn. This is all hands-on. A lot of shade tree mechanic. That's pretty much how all of us who are in this business start out at some point. We work on stuff that needs to get running. You don't have a lot of money. You work with what you have.
Just a little bit of sludge.
I like to fill the engine from the top through here if you can. It eliminates any air pockets that'll get in the engine. Topping off the radiator here. We've got some Royal Purple, put a Royal Purple filter on it, put some Royal Purple oil in it. We're gonna put a little bit of gas down the vent tubes to fill the bowls up. You don't wanna pour a lot down the actual engine itself, so see if it squirts. Got a little bit in it. All right, moment of truth right here.
Man,
That's a job well done, boys.
it worked.
Oh, yeah.
Where are you taking us tonight?
Wherever y'all want to go. The sound, it brings back a lot of memories riding around in it. Try to take this thing out and play around with it this weekend since we got the weekend off.
Okay, Jason, we picked you up a few extra pieces from Summit. We got you a complete fuel system, which we definitely think the car needs. Got you a 1-wire alternator and a chrome dress-up kit. Add a little bling to the 55.
Perfect.
So you got no more excuses. You've had the car for enough time now. It's time to get it finished.
Thank you.
Whether competing or cruising, superchargers have always done the same job: compress incoming air, making it possible to burn more fuel for more horsepower. Now more than ever, supercharged mods are one of the hottest tickets for new and old muscle cars. We've installed root-style and centrifugal blowers on just about every kind of engine, from a classic Ford Flathead to a new 5-liter Coyote. We had our hands on old-school Huffers with carburetors, as well as newer high-tech EFI applications. And we've seen firsthand how technology has made root supercharging more efficient and easier to install than its centrifugal cousin. Well, today we're going to use this new Camaro back here to try out and test a new approach to root supercharging. This is SLP's Stage 1 kit for 2010 and newer Gen 5s. Like all the players, they use Eaton's 4-lobe rotor design. However, they also incorporate direct drive technology, which means fewer parts and less parasitic drag. Here's the intake manifold, which has been port matched to optimize flow, and on top, a durable bar and plate intercooler. Wiring harness is simple plug and play, and to program it, this little touchscreen Diablo tuner. Now, here's something else that got our attention. The guys at SLP say this is the easiest kit on the market to install.
What we found with the customers, the ones that install other aftermarket kits today, they find the ease of installation with this. The horsepower numbers that we advertise are correct, and all in all, it's just been a very good response from our customers.
Like similar installs, removing components for access is the first chore. For us, that includes the stock hood, then the engine cover, and air inlet tube. Now we can free up the connectors to the injectors and to the throttle body. Now we can remove the fuel feed line, loosen the manifold, and remove it as an assembly. Now don't forget to cover those exposed intake ports. Next, we can remove the throttle body, which we'll reuse. Then relocate the evap solenoid to the front of the passenger side cylinder head and attach it with a zip tie.
On the new manifold, we installed the supplied gaskets, and with a little lube on the O-rings, the new 56-pound injectors. Then the fuel rails and the 2-bar map sensor. Time to remove the tape and clean the mating surfaces with rubbing alcohol. We also like to spray on some window cleaner to prevent disturbing the gaskets. Now drop the manifold assembly onto the cylinder heads, making sure it goes straight down. It's torqued in a sequence to 88 inch-pounds.
Now it's onto the intercooling system. Now this thing uses a large capacity reservoir, a high volume circulation pump, and the heat exchanger is the thickest one of any kit on the market. Now this whole system also holds twice the capacity of coolant than any other system. Here's a quick look at how it all works together. Hot coolant is pushed from the pump to the heat exchanger where it is cooled, then into the intercooler, which is mounted under the blower. Now it comes out the intercooler to the larger reservoir before making its way back to the pump. Now this is a self-contained system and does not mix with the engine coolant. Back to the install, the intercooler hose is attached to the back of the intake, and we're ready to drop on the main attraction, an award-winning one at that.
The Eaton TVS 2300 internals is standard to about every kit that's out there today. We did something different with the design of the case and actually won a SEMA award for that design.
Dowel pins ensure it's aligned correctly. And don't forget to follow the torque sequence. Now install a vacuum line from the bypass valve to the small port on the supercharger, and the evap line from the solenoid to the larger port.
They say the devil's in the details. We've got a few more to finish our SLP install. However, we're not far from a fire up and a dyno run. We just dropped SLP's new Stage 1 Supercharger on this Camaro SS. So far, as promised, it's been a straightforward, easy job. Hopefully the rest of the installation will go that way too.
And that first involves connecting the PCV line from the valve cover to the port on the driver's side of the supercharger, followed by a hose from the booster to the large port right above the other one. Now plug in the harness to the map sensor and reinstall the O-ring with the stock throttle body and plug in its connector. We need to remove the stock tensioner, add the new idler bracket, and the new tensioner, which has more travel. Finally, the new idler pulley. With the numbers facing backwards, we'll install the 98mm Supercharger pulley, finger tight for now. It uses 5 fasteners for more torque retention than competitor pulleys that use 4. To turn all the pulleys, the kit comes with a new serpentine belt. Now if you get confused about the routing, don't sweat it. They also supply an underhood sticker with a diagram. Torque spec for the Supercharger pulley is 7.5 foot-pounds.
The heat exchanger is next, but first we need to cushion it with some foam strips supplied in the kit. Then we need to remove the radiator hold-down brackets and factory air box to give some clearance. We also have to go underneath to cut a couple of holes in the radiator shroud for heat exchanger plumbing. Finally, we can pull the radiator back and drop in the exchanger. With a little WD-40 on the body, we can slide the circulation pump into the bracket we installed on the passenger side. Back underneath, the driver's side intercooler hose connects to the driver's side of the heat exchanger. Another hose runs from the bottom of the pump to the passenger side of the heat exchanger. This short hose connects to the top of the pump and to the bottom of the reservoir.
Now we're ready to fill the reservoir with a 50/50 Dex-Cool deionized water mix. Then install a new fuel line to the passenger side fuel rail. We're getting close, but we still have to wire up the circulation pump, which involves a ground, a relay, a 12-volt source, and a fuse tap that goes into the fuse block. Now the last step is connecting the new air tube to the throttle body. Now that's it for the kit, but we're also adding a 3-inch SLP loudmouth axle back exhaust system to help this blown SS breathe better.
The tuner walks you through the steps necessary to flash the ECM. When it's done, we can fire up the SS.
All right, Joe, you ready?
You bet.
Here we go. No check engine lights, good smooth idle. Exhaust sounds good from in here.
It's leak-free and ready to head toward the dyno. Now rolling on gloss black machine-faced SLP wheels. 20x8s in the front, 20x9s in the back.
We didn't do a baseline run because we've done that recently with LS3 Camaros, and rear wheel horsepower is always really consistent at 365 horsepower.
487's a 122 horsepower gain. Torque peaked at 478 and stayed high through most of the run. But the real proof is on the pavement at our local 8th Mile drag strip, Music City Raceway. First to pass on the stock street tires. And even feathering the throttle, the Camaro spins for about 300 feet. And a 9-second ET is the best we can get out of it.
So we'll swap the rears for a couple of Mickey Thompson's ET Street Radials. With their softer compound, we ought to get better results. Let's see if they help us get more out of our supercharged LS3. Dropping the clutch at 4,000 RPMs, the Camaro finally hooks up. And we're down to an 835, a full 7/10 better with the Mickeys.
By the way, SLP's got a Stage 2 and Stage 3 kit if you need more horsepower and lower ETs. That is, if you need it. How'd it feel?
Man, it felt good. Those tires do the work.
Can cars be art? You'll discover the answer when we take in a rare collection of Art Deco dream rides, coming up next.
They arrived at Nashville's Frisch Center for the Visual Arts from some of the rarest collections in the country. 18 cars, mostly limited production models, hand-built by some of history's top craftsmen.
It's a collection put together by guest curator Ken Gross,
Can't be a fat guy on this car.
who set out to find some of the world's best examples of Art Deco automotive styling.
In some instances, they were looking at aircraft, they were looking at trains, they were even looking at ships like the Normandy and thinking, these are design elements, design cues that can translate to cars on the road.
The Art Deco movement started in France during the 20s, and nothing screams Deco like this French-made 1937 Delahaye Roadster. Or this custom-built 39 Bugatti Type 57C Roadster. This Talbot Lagal was not only a dramatic design, in France it was a competitive race car as well. But for most of these cars, function follows form.
People like to talk about a fusion of form and function. In many instances here, function was like a secondary. They wanted it to look right, to look good, to look beautiful, and so that's what they did. And you know, if it happened to work, that's fine.
That's why the exhibit is called Sensuous Steel. And among the American Deco-inspired cars is a colorful 1929 Cord, a sole surviving 1930 Jordan Speedway Roadster powered by a 12-cylinder airplane engine, and this one-off sports car built for Henry Ford's son, Edsel, in 1934.
Some experts consider the stout Scarab as America's first production minivan. This 36 model has a rear-mounted Ford flathead engine and independent suspension. Chrysler's C2 Airflow Coupe was perhaps too modern for its time in 1935. In addition to Art Deco influences, it was miles ahead of its competitors in terms of strength, safety, and aerodynamics. In terms of sales, well, that's a different story.
Back in 1941, Chrysler built a hot rod. It was this Thunderbolt. Now the cost was about $8,000. That would buy you 2 to 3 houses back then. I think I'd rather have the car.
And Chrysler toured that car and its 4 siblings around the country to Chrysler dealers to say, this is what you can expect from Chrysler in the future.
Of course, war was in the country's immediate future then, and Chrysler later gave up plans for the Thunderbolt's production. After World War II, automotive designs changed. Even concept cars reflected new, jet-powered atomic age influence, using new, lighter, synthetic materials.
Judging by the enthusiastic crowds here, though, there's something uniquely appealing about the Art Deco automotive era. A magic age of sensuous steel.